Hey everybody, welcome back to the Run and Gun Photography channel. We are here in Adobe Lightroom, and whether you are a brand new photographer looking to learn a little bit about editing in Adobe Lightroom, or maybe you have a touch of photography experience and you're just looking for some portrait editing tips and tricks, you are in the right spot. So I'm going to show you guys how to take your photo and go from this, we have some bright spots, we have some dark spots, we're kind of in the shade, the color's not quite there, and then you can go to this. This is our final edited photo. We can clearly see who our subject is. We fixed our color, our composition, our exposure, and so we will start off with our completely raw photo here that I shot out of the camera. You can see here I used 1/500th of a second. I shot this at f1.6 and used an ISO of 64 on a 50mm 1.4 lens. And this was shot with my Nikon D850, which I just recently did a review on. Now, as you grow as photographers, you'll begin to recognize that when you get a good image in camera, there's a lot less work that you have to do later on in post-processing. So let's go ahead and get started with my first step for portrait editing, and that's going to be adjusting our white balance. Now, Lightroom has this great white balance color picking tool right here. I can also press W on the keyboard, and I can select a neutral part of the image, meaning something that's gray, and it will automatically adjust my white balance for me. So I can maybe select this area of the shirt right here. That's okay. It looks a little greenish. What we're doing is we're trying to get proper looking skin tones and a proper looking white or gray area of the image. Let's try the cement back here. That's actually a little bit better. That looks pretty good. Or if I want to, I can go in on these sliders here to the upper right, and maybe I could warm this up just a touch. Still looking a little bit green. I will back those greens off and go a little more magenta. Maybe warm the skin tones up just a touch, somewhere around 5,500. And I think that white balance looks great. Again, you can select from a gray or white area of your image for white balance using your white balance color selector tool, or you can manually adjust the sliders. So I always start with white balance, try and get that color looking proper. So now I can move on to my second step, which is exposure. And again, exposure is something great to get right in camera, but you can always make some tweaks with your raw file and turn down your exposure. Or in this case, I'm going to turn up my exposure. And as you can see, that makes a huge difference, just brightening up the face a little bit. And I'll come back and I'll make some minor tweaks and adjustments. Next, I'll probably add a little bit of contrast just to make this image pop a little bit. After contrast, I will just kind of keep working down this list of sliders in order. And if you don't know what they do, it's great to zoom into your photo and just start wiggling these sliders to see what they do. Next, I'm going to mess with my highlights. You can see my highlights here. As I turn them up, my highlights get brighter and overexposed. And as I turn them down, I can save a little bit of the data in my highlights over here. I never want to crank my highlights all the way down to -100. Typically at most, I'll bring them down to maybe -70, but you don't want your white spots of your image turning gray. That's the first sign of a poorly edited image. Next, I'm going to bring up the shadows just a touch. And as you can see here, I'm getting some detail back in the hair. And I'll zoom into 100% here while I do this. Again, this is another slider. I don't want to crank all the way up to 100. Again, at most, I'll maybe go 70, 80%, but in this case, I think somewhere around 30% is good for the shadows. I want a little bit of detail in the hair, but I don't want to lose this contrast and these black values. So again, a little bit goes a long way in Adobe Lightroom. Don't crank these sliders all the way, or your image will be a little overcooked, as we say in the editing community. Next, I'm going to adjust my whites. You can see if I turn this all the way up to 100, that doesn't look so great. And if I turn it down to -100, it just makes my image look very flat. So I'm going to add just a touch of white to the image. And next I'll go down to my black values. Again, if I turn that all the way down, it makes my image look kind of crunchy. And if I turn it all the way up, it makes my image look flat. It does the exact opposite as my white slider. So I'll turn this down just a touch. And as you can see from the before and after, we've already come quite a long way in color correction and exposure correction. And when it comes to exposure, I think that looks pretty darn good. Now, some quick tips down here with our presence sliders, our texture, our clarity, and our dehaze. These are ones that, again, a little bit goes a long way, and you can make your image look great or look terrible with these sliders. So be very careful. This is another one when it comes to texture. For most portraits, I'll probably turn down just a touch, just to soften those skin tones. Typically with portraits, I will not mess with the clarity. Clarity, when I turn it all the way down, again, makes your image look very flat. I lose all detail, and that looks terrible. At most, I'll go maybe -10. It is a mid-tone contrast that works a little bit different than your overall global contrast. And if I were to turn this up, again, makes my image look fried and crunchy. So we really don't want that. Next, our dehaze is another tool I don't typically use with portraits. This is more of a landscape tool to cut through fog or haze. Again, very crunchy at 100, very glowy and flat at -100. And as a little trick, you can turn down the dehaze just a little bit to add just a touch of glow to your subject, especially on female faces and skin tones. That looks pretty darn good. Now, our next two sliders we have down here are dealing with our color of our image, and we will come back to those in just a second. Now, this is where I'll move on to my third step, and that is composition. We're going to crop this image just a little bit to make our composition look good. As you can see, we have some distracting things in our image. There's some white spots there that are okay, some white spots here that are a little bit distracting. And as you can see here, this part of this stone structure here is a little bit distracting, and the fact that you can see just a touch of her sandal and I cropped on her ankle, a little bit distracting. So let's go ahead, fix our composition, and we can select R on the keyboard or hit this little crop tool and go into our crop overlay mode where I will start cropping our image here. And what I want to do, I'm always focusing on the subject. All of these steps that I'm going through, our number one priority is to make our subject look good. And we currently have a 2:3 aspect ratio. I can go over to the right and select some different aspect ratios. I can do a 1:1 square. I could do a 4:5 or an 8:10. Probably make that vertical here. And I actually like 4:5s. They work pretty well for portraits. I enjoy 4:5s. I like 5:7s. Usually 2:3 or 4:6 is a little bit tall for my taste, unless I'm doing a full body portrait. But typically I'll aim for 4:5 or 5:7 for portrait photos. And we'll go ahead here. We'll straighten out our horizon. Make sure your horizon's straight and not crooked. And I'll kind of adjust my crop and then hit enter when I'm done. And I think that looks pretty darn good. You can see we cropped quite a bit of our image out. We got some of these distracting highlights out of there. We got rid of some of this brick stone wall over here, cropped out some of these distractions over here. I may open it up just a touch. Yeah, maybe I want a little bit more of the background over here. I do enjoy these trees and this bouquet back here and these out of focus areas of the image. But again, I am always focused on my subject, and I do whatever I need to do with crop and composition to make my subject the center of attention, especially when it comes down to a portrait. Your subject should always be number one. And as you go through all of these steps, remember to keep your subject as the priority and focal point of your image. So after we've done some composition adjustments, we'll move on to our fourth step, which is color. Now I'm going to come back to these vibrance and saturation sliders right here. Typically, I will not touch saturation unless I'm making my image black and white. I almost never turn my saturation up. As you can see, that again fries my image. It looks horribly over edited. If anything, I will turn my saturation maybe down or maybe up just a couple percent. If I want to do any real saturation editing when it comes to portraits, I will use my vibrant slider. Now you can wiggle your vibrant slider up and down in your own image and see that it doesn't completely desaturate or oversaturate your image. Typically, I'll turn up my vibrance maybe up to 20–30%, but you can see that adds just a touch of color and a little bit of pop in those tones and those hues of my image. So again, my fourth step is to adjust the color after I adjust the composition. You never want to go too far. Again, a little bit goes a long way. We'll do some minor color adjustments here, and we'll again take a look at the before and the after of our portrait. And let me know down below in the comments as we go if you enjoy how this portrait is looking so far. And if you have any questions, again, just ask down below in the comments and I will answer them as quickly as possible. So after I finish doing a little bit of color adjustment here, I'll go through and I will select a color profile. We're going to keep this super simple for now. And typically I will leave this on Adobe Color, but if you want to click this drop down menu and you can sample a few different color profiles, there's Adobe Landscape, great for portraits, a little oversaturated sometimes, and great for landscape. Typically I will use this Adobe Portrait, which gives nice smooth skin tones, but I say for right now, we can leave it on Adobe Color. Typically, that gives pretty darn good results. You can see in this profile drop-down list, I have a couple custom profiles I added. I'll show you guys how to do that in another video. It's a more advanced step, but typically stick within these basic ones that Adobe gives you. Vivid, sometimes it's good for portraits. That actually looks pretty good, and I may leave it on Vivid, but Adobe Color is typically what I work with. So step number 4 was our colors. Step number 5 is sharpness. Again, you always want to make sure you have a nice, sharp photograph to begin with. If your photo is very blurry, there's typically not too much you can do with it, even with a raw photograph. You got to try and get those eyes in focus in camera, and then you'll have a better image to work with in Lightroom. So next, I'm going to go down to our Detail tab, and I'm going to turn up our sharpness and make sure those eyes are nice and sharp. I'll do that by turning up the amount. I will leave the radius here alone at 1 pixel, and then typically I will turn up my detail just a touch. Now, masking is a little bit more advanced. In the beginning, you're typically not going to have to worry about this. We'll cover this in a future video. Now I'm going to scroll down just a touch, and another aspect of having a sharp, clear, good-looking photograph is noise reduction. If you have a very noisy image, let's say you used a high ISO, maybe you used 1000 ISO, 2000 ISO, 64,000 ISO, you'll have a little bit of noise when you zoom in. So if I zoom into my image, you can see I used an ISO of 64, and it's not very noisy, but you may want to do just a little bit of noise reduction. This is another place where it's good to start out small and slowly work your way up the slider. If I go up to 100%, you'll start to see I really start losing sharp details, and you never really want to crank your noise reduction up to 100. At most, I will maybe go to 30 to get rid of some of the background noise in here, but an image like this, maybe 10, even at an ISO of 64, all photographs have just a tiny bit of noise. So a quick tip I like to use is do a little bit of noise reduction to all of your images for the smoothest skin tones and the smoothest blurry bokeh in the background. We want our background to be nice and blurry, and as always, our subject to be nice and sharp. So after sharpness, I'll go ahead and close my detail tab, and I'll go to step number 6, which is lens corrections. And 99% of the time, I can just click these 2 buttons here, remove chromatic aberration, and enable color corrections. And you'll see, we'll turn that on and off. And you can see we've brightened up our image just a touch. We've made our image a little bit flatter all the way across by removing some distortion and vignetting. And Adobe Lightroom has also automatically removed some chromatic aberration. You can typically see chromatic aberration on bright edges near dark areas of the image, such as this t-shirt here. You'll see some kind of funky glows right there. Sometimes you'll see it on glowing areas of the skin. That's just chromatic aberration from light being reflected and refracted through the glass of your lens. Completely natural, and typically clicking these two buttons, removing that chromatic aberration and enabling your default profile corrections will get rid of all of those quite easily, and you won't have to do any manual adjustment. However, if you want to, you can do some distortion adjustment with these two sliders down here. You can also do some vignette adjustment and remove some of that vignette in your image. So typically, I will just click these, and this works for 99% of the images. And if your lens profile doesn't automatically pop up, just scroll here, find the make of your camera, the model of your camera lens, and which profile for that lens you would like to use. And Lightroom has a huge selection, so you'll probably be able to find your camera and lens in these drop-down menus. Now, lastly, we're going to look at effects. I will close my lens correction tab, and I will open this effects tab. Now, this is step number 7, the last step on the list, and this is taking a pretty darn good looking image. Here's the before, here's the after. I think this looks great. Let me know what you guys think. And we'll just add some kind of polish on this image, just a little bit of a final touch. And I typically like to add just a little bit of a vignette. Now you can see that darkens the outside of my image, and we'll pull the midpoint in just a little bit. And you don't want to go overkill with vignette. I see a lot of beginner photographers that will turn their vignette down to -100 like this. And personally, I think that looks pretty terrible. You will not see professional photographers with good looking images pulling their vignette down to -100. You typically want the slider at most -20, maybe -30. Bring this midpoint in. You can see my midpoint either expands or contracts my vignette. The roundness will make my vignette more square or more round. And feathering will give a hard edge. We don't like that. We want a very soft edge to our vignette, and we'll typically turn up our feather just a touch. So now we can see we've created this kind of dark shadow around the corners of our image. And if I turn that on and off, you'll see we go from kind of a flat image to now there's some depth to this image, and we really make our subject pop out by kind of darkening this area of the background around our model. And I think that looks pretty darn good. In this particular image, I'm not going to add any grain. Some people like to add just a touch of grain to their image, and that will give your image kind of a film analog look. And you can see there are some adjustments. We can adjust the size of our grain. We can adjust the roughness of our grain. So as you can see, adding grain kind of detracts from the quality of your image, I'd like to say, and it's not really something I typically do unless I'm going for some sort of a film look or I want some extra texture in the image. So I'm going to turn that back down to 0. And I think that's a pretty darn well-balanced photo. And if I click Settings, Reset, you can see what we started with. This was our raw photograph in Adobe Lightroom. And I will go ahead and undo that. And here is our final edited portrait photo. So I hope you guys, whether you're beginners or you're a hobbyist or you've been doing this for a while, I hope you were able to get something out of this video, learn a couple of tips and tricks, and now you guys know my 7 steps for portrait editing. So I appreciate you guys watching. Be sure to like this video, drop me a comment down below if you enjoyed this or have any further questions, or let me know if you'd like to recommend a tutorial in the future. And lastly, be sure to subscribe for more editing tutorials just like this. Until next time, get out and go shoot.